All right, welcome everyone. This is the Viper Professional Trading and Support webinar. Today's date is Wednesday, April the 27th, 2016. And the title of tonight's webinar is 4 Very Important Trade Setups. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading rooms, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we might have, our live trading rooms, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, I don't see any, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and show you a chart here real quick. Bear with me just a second. We're going to talk about here tonight's a little bit more generalities on how to take some of these basic trade setups. And I want to show you the actual trade setup first off, okay? Because it's really important to know the trade setup itself and what you're going to be looking for, okay? Now, what I personally recommend, and it's up to you, you can always trade different, especially with breakouts and things like that. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that if, for instance, your mid-band is red, magenta, or even this rose color, a lot of times you want to just make sure that you stay trading that particular direction, okay? Now, if you look at this chart right over here to give an example, let me just show you a couple of things about this. Notice, we won't even go into this trade here, although anybody can clearly see if you had seen a thrust, you could have gotten the mid-band trade. That's one of those 4 trades we're going to talk about tonight, okay, because that is a really, really good trade. The other trade that we're going to talk about tonight is like your phantom trade. And what I'm going to suggest to a lot of people is, except for the opening of the market and news events and things, you really need to get more in a habit of kind of scalping the market. You know, for instance, if you get a phantom type trade, you know, take it to mid-band. Okay, because notice how these markets just continually do to begin with. Okay, notice right here, for instance, that you had a little yellow bar probe. Over here you had what we call a line 5 trade. Okay, notice that the trend had changed. Once the trend changed, you got the red background, you have the red mid-band, or at least a magenta one. Okay, and what you're looking for is that first retracement into mid-band. Okay, now pretend you don't even see the time of day or anything like this, okay? Because I'm going to teach in a little bit more generalities today, and then we'll go into some actual trades from today. All right, the one thing I want you to see, though, is the lightning swings, because it's really important that you don't just go jumping in a trade until it actually breaks those lightning swings, okay? Now, what you're really looking for, and of course, even trend line breaks. But let's say that you had walked in and you saw something like this. You knew the background was changed. You knew you had a short trend, right? Because our indicators are pretty accurate at that. Okay, so you're looking for that mid-band type trade, right? But a lot of times what happens is people will jump in when they get that first bar rollover. And we've taught that for a long time. Okay, now a lot of times you will get a nice rollover. You know, for instance, when it hits the ellipse, this was also at a pretty good level of resistance too, wasn't it? You know, but then it happened to just kind of break up through it too, right? You know, and when they do that, if you happen to short that resistance and they don't give you your 5, 6 ticks or whatever you're shooting for, then get out of the trade once they take out your cost. Okay, but at the time you're still looking for a short, okay, because this is telling you, this is also telling you as it's stepping down, this is telling you as it's stepping down, and even the mid-band is telling you as it's stepping down that we're looking for short trades. Okay, now you can box in and you can take some of these trades to the upside, especially, you know, when they pop up above mid-band. Now, one thing I would like to mention is be careful boxing in at mid-band. You know, for instance, if you want to short the market, you really should be boxing in under mid-band. If you want to go long, you really need to be boxing in above mid-band, okay? See, like for instance, if this thing was to decide to go up and you decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, box this little area in right here, okay? And you notice that it never did. It actually took a short to the downside, okay, if you would have used Object Trader, okay? Now, if this would have decided to go up, what would it have actually done? Well, it thrust up above mid-band, pull back, kiss it, and then take off, okay? And it didn't do that, and your box kind of proved it didn't do that. But also, even look at your lightning, okay, because you can clearly see on this chart. Let me just show you lightning. Hope I've got this set up right. I think I do. Let's see. Well, let's do it. We'll do it from there. That's fine. All right. This is basically a little box, okay? And you know that your lightning is right down here, right? Now, you don't have to take that particular breakout, okay? But if this was actually changing trends, if you don't take this little breakout right here, then you could easily just bounce off of it, you know, and head straight back up, okay? So sometimes you're going to give up a little bit on the trade if you don't just box it in like we teach like this, okay? Now, this would have been actually for technically boxing in for a long, right? But it didn't materialize because it was above mid-band and you just boxed it in, okay? Now, you don't have to box in a trade right at, you know, like this. For instance, this hadn't made a peak or anything, so we didn't really know that was the low there. So couldn't you have boxed it in like even right under here? You know, if this was, for instance, to kiss back up at resistance a little bit and then roll over, couldn't you also take it? You know, you don't have to actually get the most optimum trade there is, because there's a lot of times they're going to fake you, and especially with 4 range bars, okay? Now, this turned out that instead of being a mid-band type trade, which could have easily been, it turned out to be a little deeper retracement. This is what we call, in our book that we wrote, a deep bar probe. Now, does everybody know what a deep bar probe is? Let me get that question out of the way first, because we do have some new members. Because a deep bar probe on a short is going to get blue bars, okay? It's going to get blue bars. Now, if you get a phantom type trade, like up in here, for instance, between line 6 and line 7 here, you're going to actually get a transition background most of the time. I think, matter of fact, I haven't really watched it that much, but I think pretty much all the time. But at least say more than likely you'll be in transition, okay? So these boxes make a lot of sense when you're trading, right? That you can box in. I mean, you could have even said, you know what, if this is a little fake, couldn't I wait for it to even take out mid-band? You know, give it a little wiggle room just in case it just barely touches there? Sure you could. And then you could put a tight stop, you know, like a 1, 2, 3 reversal or something like that. And that happened to break down anyway. So that's one of my favorite trades right there. And I know that is Charles's favorite trade, is a boxed in. Okay? And if you turn off the longs, you know, and just simply did this box like this, then obviously you would have taken the trade right there on that bar close. If you would have had a tighter box, you would have taken it on that bar close, okay? Everybody, how many of you, just a real quick poll of the team, how many of you use boxes at mid-bands? Just a quick poll of the team to see. That's what I kind of thought, lots and lots, okay. Yes is all across the board. Absolutely. And I see a lot of those names are some of our really good traders. Not yet a new member. That's okay. That's fine. And I struggle on placing them, Pro Trader's saying. Okay. I'm not sure who Pro Trader is, but that's fine. And didn't you suggest box below mid-bands for shorts? Yes. Also on that. MG Mac. Now keep in mind, though, that this was also boxed in possibly to take a long if it was to break up to try to get into phantom, to give an example. But, you know, one of the things you want to be really careful of is boxing in okay? For longs, when you've got a red background and a red midband and everything, because this thing oscillates in what we call the money band right through here. So see, that's what I was saying, MG, on your question. This is an aggressive box, okay? And that's on the wrong side of the midband, although you could turn on longs and shorts. That's when Charles in the room will say, boxing at midband, no bias. Everybody knows what that is, right? If you were to box this in at the midband with no bias, you would just simply turn that on like that. And if it would have broken up through the top, you would have gotten your long. And if it would have broken down through the bottom, you got your short. And of course, everybody knows when Object Trader gets its trade, this other one will still stay on here. Remember, if it shorts here, this one still stays. So be careful. You can even turn that back off. Although if you don't move your region, you'll be pretty safe unless it takes out the top. Let's see, where you have no bias box, what's winning percent? Well, Pat F., on your question, it's pretty high, especially in the morning, you know, when the market's really moving around, the no bias type box. You know, now keep in mind that, let's say, for instance, I'm going to just do a hypothetical. Let's say that you drew your box, and I'm going to do lines here instead of a box so we can see it. Let's say that you had your box drawn like this, but I'm going to just put lines on it instead. Okay, and you were asking, you know, what's the winning percentage of that? Well, let's say, for instance, that it would have busted out of here. Let's say it would have gone long. Okay, now to me, if this busted out of here, I expect it to come really no lower than about right through here, because these have already been tested. So, you know, in other words, if this was going to break up, you would expect this type of action where it would come back down, maybe even something like that, kiss, and then head back up, okay, like that. And you can wait for that, because see how this one did it? You had a high here, low, higher high, came back and kissed right on top of the box, okay? So that was telling you that you might have been getting a trend change, okay? Because obviously looking at this, you had a thrust, a retrace, a thrust, so you got a high, a low, a higher low, and even a higher high again. But what's actually the retracement on that big move right there? I'll bet you that's 61%, just guessing at it. And that's pretty common on moves like that. See, that was 61, almost hit 61%, not quite. Okay, it hit right around the 50% and then rolled over. Okay, so by boxing in both directions, and I'm going to see about this summer sometimes adding something to Object Trader that will make it to where you can choose how many you want to break above the top and how many you want to break below the bottom. That way you don't have to just choose, you know, close plus. We're going to try to add a, you know, a T for here and a B for, and kind of move this up out of the way a little bit. That way you'll be able to choose your offset for both of them. Okay, because getting wicked into a trade is no fun. And waiting for a breakout's no fun if you have to put your stop 12 or 15 ticks back. Because if you start with 4 contracts, obviously, you know, you're going to be giving up some coin. Let's see, not sure where the pro trader comes in. Oh, just your name that you're in the room, pro trader. I've got you as under your actual name in the room today as pro trader. So you may have put that in when you signed up for the webinar. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Diane says, pro trader is me. That's not a problem. Right, Diane? Diane's been with us a while too, and she comes to every webinar. Okay, now what we're talking about tonight is something that we do quickly in the room. You'll notice on 4 charts that, you know, for instance, if Charles says, you know, box in mid-band no bias, then that's what I'll do right there in the room. If I see it on TF, I'll do the same thing on it. If I see it on oil, I'll do it on oil. You know, that's the way we're trading. We're also looking for phantom trades where they'll roll over. That's going to be a trade we're going to talk about here in a few minutes too, because that's a really also a very, very good trade. Okay, but these box-in trades can make a world of difference in your trading, because, for instance, if this was to break, you know, this little support area here, you at least expect it to here, right? Because there's support, there's support, there's support, right? There's support, and there's support. That's what you kind of expect from your trade. Okay, that's why in the room, you know, when we're drawing on these charts and everything, we're actually saying, you know what, if it actually breaks support and you box it in, you know, then you just draw these lines where these swings were, you know, and you can see them without having to have lightning on this chart. You know, this is a little bit stronger swing, for instance, right here, and this one right here, of course. See it right here? So if it just keeps breaking these areas of support, what do you think it's going to do? See, it's going to go down and it's going to check another level. Watch and we'll see what it does. See there? Checks that level, then checks the next level. See there? That's what they do continually. And would that have been a nice trade with just a couple of contracts? Well, if you boxed it in like we teach, and we see these trades every single day in that room, if you boxed it in here, or if you were a little bit more conservative trader and you boxed it in like this instead, just go to the bottom of the box like this, and let's say at the time, to not be cheating, you saw this support. Okay, see the little thrust, retrace thrust? Say you wanted to break this secondary support here because it's the true lightning swing. See the high, the low, the higher high? This isn't really what I call a lightning swing because it never took out the high. So I'm nervous when you box in like this because they can barely break them and then they'll just pound it right back up. So be careful with that. The true lightning swing was broken when it takes this out. Okay, but if this gets taken out, then guess what? You wouldn't really want resistance to be taken out again, would you, with the close of the bar? So let's say that you even boxed it there under mid-band, you know, and it breaks down. See how it's coming back trying to kiss? You don't want it to break that lightning swing. And I'll put the lightning swing back on so you can see it. Let's see if I can get it. I'll pull it, draw it from up here. All right, see that? High, low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Same low, breaks down. This is a aggressive trade. This is a little bit more conservative trade because you know it's already broken support here. Then you're trying to break here, then you're trying to break here, then you're trying to break here. Always looking to the left to trade the right. When you run out of swings to the left, right, because that's your only swing, I don't see any over here, then you got to stretch your chart out a little bit more to see where it might be going. Okay, and then you just start drawing on your chart again. There's a nice swing right there. There's a nice swing right there. And just like we teach in every webinar, you just draw on your charts. Okay? Now, watch what happens to your trade. Now, everybody that's been with us a while, you know where I put my stop, right? You absolutely know if I got this trade here, aggressive, here, conservative, where would my stop be right now while we're looking at this chart? It would be right here, wouldn't it? Your swing. Because if they take out the micro swing, they will go up and check medium, mid-band, or higher. That's just a rule you can pretty much live by. If they close above that swing right there, then more than likely they're going to go at least to mid-band. Okay? Now watch what actually happens here. See how they didn't take out that swing right there? You know, for instance, if you had your stop there, wouldn't that be a protected trade? Pretty much. And then where's your stop now? Right across here. If it takes out the bottom, where's your stop? Well, it's right across here. Everybody sees that, right? That's your lightning swing. That's really important to watch those lightning swings. Okay? Now look at that. That's all the way to the bottom. You drew on your chart, and you just stick with the trade until it gives up the ghost. Okay? Now I'm not going to go over a lot of counter trend trades tonight, but I do personally like to trade some counter trend trades. Some will bite you, and you want to be careful with the counter trend trades because you may get your 5 ticks or 6 ticks and you may not. Okay? But we've got a line right here. Let's just see where this went. Kind of checking resistance, isn't it? Now it hasn't identified this swing yet, has it? See, this has not taken out the low here except with a wick. Let's see, when do counter trend bite the most frequently? When they're oscillating just around that mid band and you don't have a lot of distance to the next swing up or down. Do I personally use the close outside the box or do you use the touch plus 2? Well, it kind of depends. You know, touch plus 2, I've got a lot of traders that like touch plus 3, which in essence is technically a closed bar because it's touch plus 4 by the time it actually triggers the trade. Okay, touch plus 2 is actually touch plus 3 if you think about it. Because if this touch 2 ticks outside the bar, where does it fire? Out of the box, I mean. It fires on the third tick. What if it hit 2 ticks and went back in the box? It'd never fire. It has to take out that 2 tick below with a tick to the downside if you boxed it in with that short. Okay? Now, like I said, this is one of our favorite trades right here. Anytime you can box in around mid-band, okay, below for a short, preferably, but keep in mind, this at the time could have been breaking up. You didn't know that. So obviously boxing in here, if this would have decided to head up, where would it have headed? Well, you just draw on your chart and you would see where it would be trying to go, right? So would that be a bad trade if that broke up? Not in my books, because it would at least go to here. That's an a priori swing. And how many ticks is that? Well, let's say you got filled at, I don't know, like 76 even. Let's just say 77 even. That's still to 86. So that would have been 9 ticks. And all the way up to here would have been even more, right? So that would have been a safe trade if it would have broken up. And keep in mind that we do take this particular trade at the open. Okay, because the open of the market, are we biased or are we looking for whichever way the market decides to go? And that's why we draw the regions on the charts. Now, if you don't want to trade against this trend right here, you don't have to. Because if you want to wait for it to change to green and, you know, this color here and get these mid-band trades, same thing with this one. Don't take the trades unless they're, you know, on the short side. You can do that. Okay. Now, the way I see this particular trade right here, and I don't like this because this is a high here, a low here, right? This is not a high here because it never took out the lows. I don't like putting my stop way back here. Okay, because more than likely if they take out what we call the micro swings, and I see resistance right there right now, and pretty much if they do decide to take that out like they did there, they're going to stop you out anyway. So if they take out these where you can box them, doesn't mean you have to take a long. But if you can box these little areas where they try to take out these lows, and also you look to the left to trade the right, didn't they hit exactly at your line that you drew too? Okay? That's definitely not a bad way to trade. All right? Before I go further, anybody have any questions? Let's see, would stop be below or above the box, Pat F, on your question? Well, what you would actually be looking for, you would be looking for, let me just show you here real quick. Bear with me just a second. My cursor's stuck. Hopefully that's not a battery. Okay. If, let's say, for instance, you would have taken this trade here. You boxed it in with Object Trader. That's what we designed it for. And it fires the trade right there on that bar because that closed, right? That's for the aggressive trade. Now, where would your stop be on this particular trade, lightning-wise? Well, this is a little bit heavier lightning. It's our lightning 2. So this is also a lightning swing right here. See it? Little micro, thrust, retrace, thrust. That's a true lightning swing because it actually closed below it. So you could put your stop just above that. Okay, so how much is that? You've got, let's just see what that is. Let's say you got filled at 61 because that bar had to close and had to fire a market order. Let's even give it 60. So you got filled at 60 and your stop would be up here at 70. That's a 10 tick stop. So if you had 3 contracts, that's $300. Now, you don't have to start with all three contracts either. We teach that all the time. You could start with one on this break, okay? You could watch this right here. You could start with another one on that break, and then you'd have two in, okay? A little safer way to trade it. Because if you started with, like, let's just give an example. Let's say you started with 6 here, and this bar went down and then immediately just took this out. You could be out, you know, $600 really quick. You can make a lot or you can lose a lot on trading. Okay, it just depends on the amount of contracts and obviously how good you are at picking your trades. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can stay with this trade until it takes us out. All right, remember we had our, let me get rid of the lines. We don't need them, and I'll just get rid of them manually, except for the bottom one. We knew where that bottom was of that swing. Always look to the left to trade the right. If you run out of swings, you don't see any on your chart, squeeze it up and look for a swing. You'll find one. See, they're at 23. Squeeze it again. They're at 10. Okay? So always mark on your charts and you'll know where they're going. Because where they've been, they're going again. That kind of rhymes, doesn't it? Okay? So let's say, for instance, you were in this trade here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this line. And we don't need this line. So let's just put your stop right here. Keep going. See, it never took it out. Lower high if it takes out the bottom. Going sideways, no big deal. Your stop's right here, right? Because that's your lightning swing. And there it took it out. So you could simply lower your stop a little bit. Usually when I see this and I've only got like 3 ticks, I just go ahead and go, you know what? I'm just going to put it right there anyway. Because just in case they come up and were to do a close bar, okay, that would have touched my line. But if you want to, just follow lightning, and you're pretty safe putting it right there. Because when it took out this low here, that is definitely a lightning swing. Okay? And then see, you've got another lightning swing when it takes this out. It's got to take out the low. You got a lower high than here only when this swing's taken out, which it did. Okay, so you put your stop there. Now, when you see it hit an exact low on a big swing, you know, for instance, that's pretty major, by the way. If you look at a chart and you see a huge move like that, hits its head and goes up nearly 100 ticks, that's going to bounce right there. You can absolutely bank it. Okay, and if it doesn't, then obviously you could stick with the trade with lightning. But we would call out if it was the time of the morning. You've seen us mark on our charts, and even this morning, I think we called out on Russell right where bottom was. But if you see this type of thing happen in here, you know, where it's trying to hit your low, right, and then it starts taking out, here's where I see resistance right there, and that's even secondary. See, there's resistance and there's resistance. Okay, it's already taken that out. So if it takes this resistance out, you could go ahead and get out of the trade. Okay, but are we looking for longs right now, or are we still looking for shorts? What does everybody think? You're still looking for shorts, right? Okay, now when this decides, let me get rid of this lightning just real quick, because that, you know, you'll learn to see lightning without seeing lightning on your chart after a while. Come on. All right, so see how this is kind of thrust up, pulled back, held this little area of support, thrust up again, pulls back, right? Okay. Now, if you're looking for what we call a yellow bar probe, and this one thing that I personally like to look at, if they really ratchet down good and solid, I'll go ahead and take that yellow bar probe as long as it doesn't take out my lightning swing. Remember, we saw that was the lightning swing there. This was more minor right down here. Okay, so if they don't take that out, for instance, and you get a rollover bar like that, you know, if you want to take a shot for like 5 or 6 ticks, that also hit the ellipse, that's not bad. But remember, if it takes this out, you want out of the trade. Okay, so let's see if we can get anything on that. There's probably 5 ticks anyway, if you've got filled on that bar close. Okay, and if it takes out the swing, We'll see if it does. So far, it's giving you a nice, almost, not quite 10 ticks. Okay? You would have had a scalp right there, right? That's a first time yellow bar probe. Well, second yellow bar probe after a trend change, but it did ratchet way down below swings. Okay? And now what are you looking for? Well, let's look here. You got a secondary swing right across here. That's also a swing right here that I see. All right, so let's see if we can get another trade. Turned out not to be a bad one. Now you're taking out. See, it took out the little swing with the close. Okay, there's your swing that should hold, right? But keep in mind, we have not had a phantom trade yet. Everybody see that? Now, couldn't you have boxed that little area in right across there and gotten you a little phantom trade, just the way we teach it? Boxing in below mid-band. Now, keep in mind, what if this trade, you box it in like this, and let's say you know that support's right down here. All right, what if it doesn't make it there? Well, you put your stop just above the box, right? Because this could easily break out too, but it did do what we call a deep bar probe and it rolled over. Okay, so when we say to box something like that in, then obviously you don't really want it to just jump right back in that box and take out the top of that box like that. See how it's going around the other way? So if that trade didn't work out and they close back inside the box, you can get right out of that trade. And that did definitely close back inside that little box right there. So I would be thinking that more than likely at that point, I'd say, you know what? High, low, retracing. Let's see what the fibs are. Let's just see where it might go. Okay, there's 50%, which it already hit. See that with the little wick? And there's 61% right up here with the phantom trade. Okay, but couldn't you also box this in the way we teach it too if this decides to go ahead and break to the upside? Or do you want to just stay with the overall trend tonight? Because we can do that. This little trade here did not work out. Okay, was it a box in trade? Technically not, because see, when we teach lightning, where's your lightning swing on this chart? It's right across here. And they really never took that out with the close of a bar. Now they might have right there though. So you could have gotten that. Now there's your little break. You got your little scalp, right? Okay. But you are looking for first time into phantom after a trend change also. So let's see if we can get a little phantom trade. There's that 61%, by the way. We just drew it on the chart. That's also above line 6, between line 6 and 7. So could you take that trade there? Sure you could. Because looking at your charts and everything, you knew that was a 61% retracement on that move right there. So you could actually have your order sitting there or just take the bar close over. And of course, if you took the bar close over, you would already have probably 4 ticks or so, and you're just trying to get down to mid-band. Okay? Remember, on a phantom trade, what you're really trying to do is you're just trying to get to mid-band. Okay? Because you'll be surprised, these trades as they go, you know, and they move around and everything, they give you these monster nice moves, right? This would have only been stayed in with the last contract, because to me, when it started bottoming here and you box this in, you might have gotten out of this trade way down here if you're an aggressive trader. Okay? But you could also say, you know what, if it hits that resistance right across there, I'll stick it out. See that right across there? I'll draw the line if you don't see it. See how it just kissed it and rolled over? That's what we look at all the time. Thrust below support, pull back to resistance, roll over. Okay? Let's see, am I missing questions? Just one second. Have to leave early, not a problem, Richard. I think he's already left, but it's recorded, so that's not a problem at all. Okay? All right, let me see if any other questions come in here. I don't see any, so that's good. I think everybody's getting it, right? Okay, does everybody know what that deep bar probe we talked about was? Deep bars, as a rule, will go into line 5 on a short. This is your line 5, see 4 and 5. All right? And your deeper than that will usually go to your phantom. Your phantom is actually not all the way to the shadow, but it's pretty much in that area right there. Okay, that's your phantom trade. And that little trade is not a bad trade, by the way. Let's just say that you saw this in real time, so you have your bar close turned on. Turn on bar close like that. And that happens to roll over and you're in. Okay, there's 4 ticks. There's a scalp, right? A little scalp. And there's mid-band. That's not a bad little trade. Okay? First time into phantom after a trend change is definitely not a bad trade. All right, so that's one of the 4 trades that we're talking about tonight is the phantom trade. Your mid-band trade, your phantom trade. And you do have your line 5 trade, but we're not going to talk about it as much tonight. You know, this is the line 5 trade that you could easily get a scalp also. See where it comes up to line 5 and rolls over? Okay, but you're only scalping in this little area right here, right? You know, for instance, if this goes to mid-band and you've got a runner, that's fine. But if you've only got like 1 contract, then what's your contract? Where would your stop be on this trade right now? Well, if it takes out this swing right here, like so, I'd put my stop right above there and see you're still okay. And then you're not okay. It took it out. Okay? Now, do we do a second time into phantom, actually? Well, you can, because there's actually your line 6 to line 7 is your first one, and then your actual phantom trade is another one. Okay? But be careful with the actual phantom itself, because a lot of times that will be a trend change. Okay? Because when they actually go through, what in the world? It looks like somehow fired a trade. I didn't want to fire a trade. Oh, I know why. I had the bar close on. Duh. Right? You don't want to do that. Okay, sorry about that. We'll just go ahead and have our little $30 loss because I went ahead and killed it. Okay? Now, let me ask a question, right? What we're looking at. We talked about a phantom trade. It's right up here at the phantom. Okay? But does anybody see what we teach in webinars going on right now? You got a low, a high, a higher low, and definitely a higher high. So is this actually like a little trend change? You know, is this where we could have boxed it in, for instance, you know, like, well, you can also use the ray too. Something like that. You know, I don't like to personally take the ray trades a lot of times because they'll just barely break them and then they'll pop back down to support. Okay? But you do have areas that you can get in this trade. Okay? This looks to me like it's going to be a trend change. We'll find out. High, low, higher high again. Doesn't everybody think that's probably going to be a trend change? So could we go ahead and box it in? Let's see. Could have, right? Right across there. See how you can tell that's a trend change when that does that? First off, you're going to get this background, obviously, because even phantoms get this background. Okay? Now, if you didn't want to take this trade, remember the phantom we talked about? That's that trade right there, and that did do 10 ticks. And lots of our traders do that. They take this first one into line 6, second one into phantom, and pretty much after that, they're going to break the other side. Okay? And then they'll come down and kiss support, and then they're going to give you probably more than likely a run. See there? If you looked at these things 1,000 times, you can pretty much tell where they're going. Okay? Now, let me ask you a quick question. On this particular chart, where's your next trade on this chart? Let's see, and you put the phantom and stop right above the candle. Brian? Well, Brian, what I like to personally use is I like to use the lightning, just like I showed over here. Let me go back over this because you are really new, just last week. All right, let's say that you shorted this, all right, and it breaks down. And you know they retrace a little bit, and then they break again. Well, each time you just simply bring your stop with lightning. Now, when they drop like a stone like this, and then they barely retrace again, they take out the low, bring your stop on down to there. Remember, we showed that just a few minutes ago. And then they break down below here. See this little swing here? They broke down below, so you can put it right there. And they'll take you out of the trade when they get good and ready. Or if you're too tight, they're going to take you out and you're going to have to get back in. Okay? I like to look at resistance. See, they kissed resistance and rolled over. You know, when they broke support here, they pretty much were telling you that they were going to at least try to break it a little further and then kiss resistance and head on down. Okay? But you can still use your lightning swings. For instance, if you were in this trade, let's say you boxed this in or did a trend line or whatever. Okay? What if you did the little phantom short? There's lots of trades on this chart still that are to the short side. Everybody see that? You got your line 6. You got your line 7. See there? Came down. Plenty of opportunity to get 10 ticks. And then when they go sideways like this, see the mid-band like this? This is pretty much telling you right here when you see this not stepping down anymore, where you get this long sideways momentum. See that long part of that bar right there? That's pretty much telling you that you're looking very possibly at changing trends. Just keep an eye on that and you'll see it. Okay? Let's see. But let's say, for instance, you had gotten in. We drew here's a swing right here. Here's a swing right here. They tested it. They popped up. All right. This swing, they test it. They pop up. That's the way we draw those in the room. All right. So if you were in this trade, let's say, for instance, you got in at the line or a trend line break. Keep in mind they check them a lot. They'll go down and check them a couple of times. But let's say that you would have done something like this and got this trade, put your stop underneath the swing. That's the way we teach it. And you never got stopped out. All right. And then you just simply follow lightning. See where lightning is? If they're really close, I usually bring them back to a secondary. If they pop up again, what do? Well, you kind of watch where lightning is going to form. See there? Lightning is right there. Lightning's right there. Lightning is actually technically right here. That's your support. And here's another level of support right here, right? See where it busted up from here? Little lightning swing up there. If they take that out, you pretty much be done with the trade. And they went up some more. So where would your lightning be? Be right across here. And then they took you out. Okay? You see how to put your stop on that? Because if you rode this thing all the way up, that's where you would have stopped out, right across there. Now, if you're a really what I call an aggressive trader, you can put your stop right up across here, but keep in mind that's going to take you out here. See, because if you would have boxed this little area in and taken the trade off, that's not a lightning swing. That's just like a 1, 2, 3 reversal. They're going to do that, but look how they do. Thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace. Never took out the low. Thrust again, retrace, thrust again, retrace. Finally took you out. Okay, there you go. That's exactly the type of trades that you're looking. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That's exactly the type of trades that you're looking for. Okay, and with lightning, you can actually draw on your charts. Watch your little lightning swings, and keep in mind you can use what we call lightning 1. Let me see if I've got lightning 1 on mine. 1 strength, and I've got it on alt, so that should draw. I've got to get it out of this ellipse, I think. Let's see if it'll draw. Yeah, there we go. All right, see your lightning on this chart right here? So where could you very possibly take a trade and even box this in, by the way, because you got a swing right across here, okay? And you may possibly get down to phantom, so you could box it in right under here even, okay? But keep in mind that this is a long background right now. So what trade are you actually looking for? Well, you're looking for a phantom trade, right? But remember, phantoms are 80 to 85% of the time. All right, let's see what it does here. Got a little lightning swing right across here. Didn't get it because it didn't close. You're in, okay? Now that's what I consider a little bit more risky trade. You'd have to put your stop just underneath here. And since this swing is just a little further down, I'd put my stop just under here, like so. And then you got you another trade. It's not really that hard, okay? Now, if you see this happening in real time, like this, see where this swing is right here? Okay, notice that didn't make a fresher high just yet. You don't have to put your stop all the way under here. I would have expected this trade to hit its head right in here, and it didn't. So you might get out of that trade, especially when it didn't take out that top. Okay? Now, doesn't a trade like this, though, make sense that you can make some pretty decent coin on these? It does, doesn't it? Let's see, just one second. And you bear with me a second. 43.65 mid band. You put the phantom stop right above the candle. Yeah. And you do understand, Michael, the phantom trade, right? Phantom trade is just simply watching the chart and looking for what we call a first-time phantom. Let me just show you what they look like. We'll get rid of all the lines. We don't need them. All right, first time into phantom after a trend change. This would be a phantom trade right here on Russell, okay? Because see, is it first time in? No, it's not first time in. There's your first time in right there. So that doesn't actually qualify. You know, it drops the odds like to 50% or so, and 50-50 is iffy. So that's your first time into phantom. Notice what happened on here. You had a long chart, went to a short chart, back to a long chart. That's your phantom trade. I'm showing CL, that's correct. Oh, just a second. I think my cursor accidentally hit that silly thing. Sorry about that. Everybody see what I'm talking about? This is, when you're looking at trend changes, you're waiting for an entire trend change to go from one color to the opposite colors, and that's your phantom trade. Okay? That's your first time in, and that's that 85% probability trade that we like so much. And keep in mind, you do not have to take that trade just because, let's just go back over this like you were doing it in real time. Let's say, for instance, bear with me a second, I lost the silly thing. Where'd you go? Okay, this is another first time. This is where we were just a minute ago, so let's go back over here. Yeah, here we go. All right, see this right here? You've got green mid-band, so that all was long type trades you were looking for. Then it turns to this magenta. You're looking for first time into phantom. This one didn't do it except right here. Okay, so that was your phantom trade, probably a good 10 ticks. Everybody see that? Now that could have also been just as easily a 10 tick to the upside too, by boxing in the way we teach it. Okay, so that could have been a 10 tick trade right there. All right, now if it changes again to like the green, this is actually changing trend again. There's your phantom trade. You don't look for your second one as much unless you're really getting that nice stair stepping up. And I don't consider this stair stepping up a lot when it just barely takes out these highs. Usually if this is going to really give you a good phantom trade, it's going to do like this. It's going to go like that and then it'll pull into a phantom, which will be possibly up in here by then, right? Because obviously this would step up. So always watch for those little fake double tops and stuff, even if they barely take them out, okay? Because you can see here they hit a top, they pull back, they barely took out the top, they pull back, they barely took out the top, and then they take it down, okay? And then what's your second trade you're looking for? Well, you're looking for mid-band trade, right? And like we said, you can box it in. You don't have to take it until it changes lightning direction. And if you box it in there or there, we showed that trade just a few minutes ago. Okay? So now you're looking for what? It went from long to short. You're looking for a phantom trade. So what you can do is just simply draw a line at phantom and then just follow phantom as it drops. See that little phantom trade there? That's between line 6 and 7, back to mid-band. And this was the one we showed just a minute ago, and that one also did a decent trade, 10 ticks. Everybody see that? You just followed your phantom. Now, if you don't want to take the line 6 one, you don't have to. That's a little riskier trade. You know, if you want to just wait for the phantom itself, you can wait for it. Because as a rule, it will pull down before it ever changes trend directions and goes on up. It'll usually pull down near the mid-band. And see, that one did just that, and then it broke up. So phantoms are actually telling you that the trend is trying to change. Okay? But you can't get a prettier trade than a phantom trade if you watch for them, because they'll give you 10 ticks or better most times. Okay? Now, what are you looking for this next time? Well, you're looking for a phantom trade again, right? You got a green background and a green mid-band. So let's just watch for the phantom. Phantom's right here. Phantom's right between these two lines. Now let's watch it. Didn't get one, right? That's coming, maybe. There's your little line 6, right? And you got a 10-tick trade. Everybody see that? It's not really what we call rocket science. It's amazing how accurate those trades are. But you don't have to stay with them forever. You know, the whole idea of a phantom trade is it's an oversold trade or an overbought trade, and all you're trying to do is retrace back up into a resistance area or down to a support area. Okay? Yeah, let's see. We talked about the NQ trade that came down to phantom today. I'm not sure if I'm going to get time to get to that because this took longer than I thought. And I think we only went over the mid-band trade, the phantom trade, the box-in trade, right? Now, let me ask another quick question. If you just traded just like I showed right then, could you make money? And you can, right? And you don't have to stay with trades, you know, in the morning when the market opens and everything, that's power to it because they usually will run a little while. Okay? But most of the times when you see these trades, like this line 6 trade right here, what did it do? It came to mid-band, then it popped right back up, went to phantom, pulled down. That's a 10-tick trade. That's a 10-tick trade. With 3 contracts, that's $600 without ever trying to go for the gusto. Okay? Now, when you get these little consolidation patches like this, those will usually do pretty good because you could tell they're running out of steam of trying to go up and then they just break to the downside. And I showed this just a minute ago. You could take both trades. You could take that one there and you could take that one there. That's below mid-band. That's above mid-band. Just box them in. All right, so that was a 10-tick trade. It was more than a 10-tick trade, but it took you out, right? Took out lightning. You would have had what? A box? Remember, what time is it? 8:30 in the morning? Could you have drawn this little deal right across here? Could you have boxed it in like we taught? See how lightning's going down? This is right at the market open. So you just simply watch your lightning, and when it breaks this lightning swing, where did it actually start heading back up? When it took out that swing right there. Everybody sees that, right? Let me show that so you can really see it, because lightning is, to me, is one of the most important indicators we've got. Let me draw it from over here so it's easier to see. All right. Why did you draw that way, silly? There we go. All right. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So where is your swing to take it back to the upside? Well, right at that very moment, it's right there, isn't it? That one doesn't count, by the way. See, that never took out that low, so that could be a fake out. But this one would not be a fake out if it breaks it, because what is it doing? It's no longer striking from the heavens to the earth. It's going the opposite direction when it takes that out. See there? Lightning swings, when they're identified, are really important, okay, because that'll give you some good moves, especially at market opens. And where would you stay with this trade? Obviously, with lightning. See how that came right back down on support? Where would your stop be? Be right underneath there. Where would your stop be again? Well, when it takes this out, it'll be right here. Not quite good. That's good enough right there. Now where is it at? Well, it's right under here. And under there is what we call a looser stop. High, low, higher, higher low. Barely took out the high, right? So it could easily come back down and check it. See how it's doing it right there? And then it bounces. If it takes it out, you can get out of the trade. Took it out again to the upside. Where's your stop? You can put it right there. Everybody see that? Every time it takes out these highs to the left, just adjust your stop. Hadn't taken it out yet. Now when it does, isn't that your stop right there? Hadn't taken that out yet. And you just got taken out of the trade. Okay? So where's your next trade on this chart? Well, if you trade the way we teach, that had a huge thrust up, okay? You had a line 3 trade, a line 6 trade, you had an opening trade. So what are you looking for? You're looking for basically mid-band, aren't you? See if we can get another trade. See where your line is right there? Now, could you actually take that short there? Yes. Okay? But remember what we talked about just a minute ago, though, because I saw some mid-band trades come in. Let me show you something here real quick, because this happens a lot in trading. See this high here and low here and high here where that barely takes out that high? See that little patch right there? That's usually where they're running out of steam, and you usually get these little breaks. You know, for instance, to me, I see lightning right there. That's where we had our stop, right? And so if you break that, could you actually short that? Yes, because you'd be shooting for right here first, right? And then you've got what? The phantom trade. You want to see if we can get it? Don't know if we can or not, but we'll find out. Where's lightning? It's right there, right now. You're in if you took the close of it, right? Now, wouldn't this have been a better shot right down here at phantom? Yes. Okay, and you can box this in. You don't have to wait for it to break lightning if you don't want to. But always keep in mind, if you take it at phantom, also like we teach, then put your stop just underneath the phantom, like that. So for instance, if you were watching this in real time and you saw it hit phantom and you take the bar close to the upside, you're just trying to get to mid-band. It broke out down right through there, like so. So you're just trying to get up there. And you just did. Okay? Now, looking at this, this is pretty sideways, but it is starting to stair step up a little bit, right? You could still be in it. still be in it. Where's your lightning swing? You got one there, and you got one a little bit more prominent right there. See it? High, low, higher high, higher low, higher high. There's a swing and there's a swing. And you just got taken out on the what we call the minor swing, and that's more the major swing right there. Let's see, at 937, should you go long at mid-band? Chris, 937. You mean right here? Well, keep in mind, though, the safest trade that you can take is not just necessarily just jumping the bandwagon when it hits mid-band and take that first bar, because you need lightning to be broken, right? Or at least a little patch, you know, for instance, a little 3 or 4 bars. So if you were looking at this in real time, let's say, for instance, you got stopped out of your long that you took way back here, right? So you're looking right here, right? Let me get rid of that line because it's confusing. All right, so right here you've got resistance, thrust, retrace, thrust, looking to the left to trade the right. I see a little resistance right there, which it hit right there, right? So seeing this right here, I see lightning being right there. So I wouldn't be personally wanting to take that long now until it took that out. See it? Little lightning swings. So you don't have to take just because it bounces off a mid-band. You can still use lightning. And you could have shorted this right here, right? But keep in mind that you've got a target here and you got a target down here at Phantom. Okay? Because what did we say? And we're almost running out of time. What did we say about Phantom trades? They're about 85% profitable. And that little trade right there bounced off of Phantom, and it definitely did go to mid-band. See there? Now, with this being sideways, could you have boxed this in right here and tried to get down to here? Yes. Keep in mind that when it's sideways like this, you can trade both sides. And Phantoms are just going to mid-band or close thereof. You know, if, for instance, if you go in Phantom here and it gives you 10 or 12 ticks or so and you don't even get to mid-band, you can take your coin right away. Resistance is right here on this chart, and they rolled over. Okay. Box it in again, right? Didn't get anything because it's boxed right above there. And you got another short if you happen to have boxed it in, or you could have boxed it even a little lower underneath mid-band and you would have still gotten your short. See how it just kissed resistance? And then down you go. Now this is the part right here that is tougher for a lot of people to trade. This yellow area right here just simply means it's sideways. But we teach in our webinars, this is a red background, so we are looking for first time in the mid-band after a trend change, right? And like I said, with lightning, you could have boxed it in, got a short, boxed it in again, got another short. Okay? Once you get the magenta, what are you looking for? You're looking for your mid-band trade, right? And just box it in. Is Phantom, just a second, hitting green or red band? Well, Pat F., on your question, it's the opposite. And I think you might be misunderstanding what the Phantom is, okay? And I'll go over it again, and then we'll wrap. The Phantom trade, you have to remember you've got to go for a trend change first, okay? So, for instance, on this chart right here, you went from short backgrounds, right, to long. Remember, see, this is green. You know, if this was happening in real time, this is what you'd be seeing. All right, let's watch this. Okay, first off, you have a Phantom trade right here. See it? That's a good 10-tick trade. That's first time into Phantom after a trend change. Right there. Okay. And could that be a decent little trade? Well, at least a scalp. And remember, I said Phantoms are a lot of times trend changes too. And you can even use 2 charts if you want to. Okay? But keep in mind that you're looking to stay with the trend, and right now the trend is down at this moment, right? Trend is down. Okay, you got a red background, you got the red midband. You are starting to get a green background from, you know, our quicker script, which is telling you this is more than likely changing. Okay, so now what you're looking for is you're looking for a change. There's your change. See there? And if you wait around for the phantom trade, just absolutely wait around for it. Keep in mind you can do these little breaks above. You can do breaks of trend lines and things like that. But what you're looking for first time into phantom is right there. See it come down into phantom? And it'll usually print an ellipse too. Okay, you'll notice that in real time, by the way. So would that be a decent trade right there? Well, what you can do is just box it in, right? Just the way we teach. There's your exact phantom right there. Your lightning is here. See it? Like that. That's your lightning. So the way I like to personally do this, just like I showed just a minute ago, if it hits phantom like this and I get my bar up, I'll take the trade, but then I'll add to it if it takes this out. Or if it takes out another lightning swing, which we'll find out, and see it just took it out. So you could start with one, add, and then just go across your chart and see where it might be going. And when it gets there, protect some coin, look to the left to trade the right. There's a swing right there. Didn't quite get there, did it? But where's your lightning swing? It's right here. It held. See there? If you draw your lightning, you'll see it. Then you're trying to get there, which it did. And then you're trying to get here, which it did. Okay? That's the way you would trade that. Okay? So keep in mind, nobody has to just jump into phantom. You know, when we say there's a phantom trade setting up, you don't have to take that bar. That's a risky trade because what was this trade doing? Thrust, retrace, thrust. It was trying to head down, but it didn't get that trend change. This is your phantom first time into after a trend change. Once it changes this trend back to red, you're looking for the opposite. Remember, the phantom on a long is always the bottom one, and a phantom on the short is always the top one, with the midband agreeing with it. Midband agrees with this one, right? Midband agrees with this one. For a scalp, you got a scalp. I mean, not every trade is guaranteed to give you a 100-tick run, okay? But that's a first-time phantom, and it definitely did give probably 6 or 8 ticks. And then you look for a trend change again. Just watch for a trend change. Isn't that a trend change? Right there. See it go from blues to yellows to magenta to red. So mark your phantom and just follow it as it moves. See how phantom keeps dropping? Didn't get a phantom on that one. There's your phantom again. Phantom drops again. See it? That's line 7. Phantom drops again. It's line 7. Now, it doesn't mean we won't be taking all these other trades. I'm just showing you how to get a phantom trade. You've still got lots of trades through here. I boxed this one. We boxed this one. There's still plenty of trades, but we're talking about actually waiting for like a phantom, okay? And just follow phantom as it seems to drop. Right now, phantom's right here. There's your line 6, 10 tick. There's your phantom, right where you drew the line. And you're looking for at least 10 ticks, and there you are. You got it. Okay? That's the way you do that. Like I said, keep in mind, there was lots of trades over here to make you lots of coin, but watch for that trade. Because where everybody else is trying to get long on breakouts, like maybe right here, and then it comes all the way back into mid-band, you're really not looking for longs yet. You're looking for longs after it decides to change trends again, and then you're looking for that phantom again, right? Doesn't mean you don't have lots of trades through here, but you're still looking for that phantom. Line 6 was a phantom trade. Okay, and that's what you're looking for. Anyway, we're 10 minutes after. Hope everybody enjoyed the webinar. That was 3 of our very important trade setups. We'll go over number 4 next week. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and this will be up on the recording here in about the next hour. Good night, everyone.